We'll start at the very top, finishing first, obviously Chelsea, then Arsenal, then Man United, then Man City. Chelsea became the first WSL side to finish a 22-game season unbeaten after their 1-0 victory over Liverpool on the final day. Who else but ABJ got the goal after 91 minutes? She has a tendency to do that, last-minute vibes. They also set up their very best points tally in the WSL. Just the 60 points this year. Rach, you were obviously at the bridge, enjoying the celebrations, enjoying the elation, enjoying the atmosphere. Can you kind of tell us what it was like and what the trophy lift was like too?
Well, it looked like, from a fan perspective, a very enjoyable spectacle, absolutely. From a professional working perspective, actually really difficult and quite chaotic in terms of the trophy lift, the access, the view. I think I got one picture of the team lifting the trophy. It was really quite all over the place in terms of how many people were on the pitch at the time and where they were all needing to stand, and a kind of priority of where people were standing was quite an interesting spectacle. But from like a stand point of view, I imagine it was quite an impressive spectacle. The team then did a kind of lap of honour, which was a very, very long lap of honour. I think if you were in the crowd, you would have seen lots of antics, lots of fun being had, confetti, flags, singing, trophy waving around. So yeah, there was a lot of fun on the pitch for the team and for the fans afterwards, which was brilliant because it's been a long season for Chelsea. They knew they'd won it a couple of weeks ago. So to be able to come to the bridge, get a win, and then, actually be able to celebrate with their fans was very nice.
And an invincible season too. I mean, the elation at the ground must have been absolutely wild. I mean, Basil alone must have brought like half the energy and atmosphere. Really, really disappointed actually that he didn't pick up Fan of the Award at the WPLL Awards on Sunday. I thought he was an absolute dead cert, but obviously so many incredible fans and absolutely no disservice to the people who actually won the awards. But Basil's been a top dog, hasn't he, throughout the season? I mean, he's never not there, right? Yeah. Did you see him?
Of course I saw him. You can't not see him when you're at a Chelsea game. Silly question. Makes himself known and goes generally around different parts of the stadium as well to make sure everyone experiences the atmosphere that he brings. So yes, I did see him. It was a glorious day, lovely day to finish off the season. I did think as the time crept on that we were going to be the only game that saw no goals, which just would have been absolutely ridiculous because there was goals going in left, right and centre all around the WSL. I think there was something like 22 goals or something this weekend. But no, waiting right until the final minute. Got a goal, got to see it, got some celebration shots. So topped off the day.
Oh, good. And I think, on top of that, obviously, you've got gloating rights, Rach. You called it at the start of the year. You said Chelsea were going to be the champions. And lo and behold, look who got it right. My prediction for the winner was Man City. It wasn't a bad call at the start of the season. Obviously, the season hasn't gone to plan, and we'll definitely talk about them a little bit later down the line. But how are you feeling, Rach? Go on.
To be honest,
give me an I told you so.
No, I'm not even gonna, because I don't think predictions are that big a deal. Everyone hangs so much on it. Fans love to use them as sticks to beat media with by going, ha, you got it wrong. How could you think that this was going to happen? And you're like, cool.
Mate, I'm literally giving you full license to do that.
I'm giving you some, I'm saying, like, how are you expecting what happened to Man City to happen to Man City? Like, people laughing at pundits thinking Man City might win it after it came down to goal difference last season is not that wild a call. I didn't think Chelsea were going to win it as emphatically as they did, given new manager, new players, which makes the win all the more impressive. To go unbeaten is incredible. To get the highest points tally is amazing. So I couldn't have predicted that. There's so many kind of variables that happen in a season that just might nudge things a different way. So I'm not going to gloat, Chloe, because I don't actually think picking Man City as a potential at the beginning of the season was that wild a suggestion.
That's so big of you. If it had been me and the other way around, I would have 100%. There'd have been I told you so's. There'd have been a fanfare. There'd have been probably got a special guest in to say, yeah, Chloe's the expert on this podcast, all sorts. It really would have gone to town on it. But appreciate you staying humble with that, mate.
It's so
really,
rare.
Really thank you for that one.
When that happens, so I can understand.
It is so rare. Let's get stuck into Arsenal United. Arsenal walked away with the points 4-3 this weekend. Yeah, really, really good victory. Obviously, an amazing atmosphere to get 7 goals in a game. Hugely chaotic. Amazing that we had 7 different goal scorers, 2 penalties. Is this how we thought the game would go, Rach? Is this how you saw it ending on this kind of the madness?
Do you know what? I actually didn't think the game was that chaotic until 70 minutes onwards. So like up until then, Arsenal were really good, playing some really nice football, reminding us that they can play some really lovely football when they turn it on. It looks, it's good. Even the commentary were kind of like, they've wrapped this up. They've absolutely dominated Manchester United. A wonderful display from Arsenal, blah, blah, blah. And then the last 20 minutes, it was just like, this is typical, exactly what we expected from Arsenal, to just be falling apart, blah, blah, blah. So it's funny how that flips on its head. It did get a little bit chaotic. I think sometimes, and I think maybe this is a bit of a fragility with Arsenal, is that one little mistake can just put the wobblers and the nerves on everybody. And that mistake was Katie McCabe hospital pass ball to Elizabeth Turland, and it just kind of turned the game on its head a little bit suddenly. So yes, it made for a very nervy ending, I'm sure, for Arsenal fans. I did think it was going to be a tight game, because I thought Manchester United have been playing well. Arsenal obviously have struggled in the last couple of WSL games, conceding 9 goals, I want to say, in 2 games. Now it's 12 and 3. So that's, I thought Manchester United could capitalise on that. Starting with Melvin Mallard, I thought she'd be a difficult player for that backline to handle, but I thought Arsenal did really well for that opening 70 minutes. And then things got a little bit shaky, and maybe they wanted to just keep the drama going right until the final minute.
Well, we've got to touch base a little bit on Turland. Obviously, she got one back for United in the second half. That was her 10th league goal. I thought she was absolutely incredible. And I completely, she's been that person who's kind of pounced on mistakes, who's always kind of anticipated that what if type opportunity. And it absolutely came to fruition. I mean, I predicted that she'd be top scorer. I don't think, again, fairly valid prediction. She's been absolutely incredible this year. But obviously, Bonnie Shaw picked it up alongside Alessia Russo, who shared the WSL Golden Boot for the awards this weekend, both scoring 12 goals. Rach, you said that it was going to be Beth England who scored 8. Again, really good contender, considering how she was in the season last year.
To be fair, I wouldn't have expected her to be putting the 10 so much. So, in my opinion, she should be up in the 9 banging in the goals. And when she was playing that position, you could see what she could do. So, yeah, and like I said, things you don't know that are going to happen that might factor in, that might change how a team or a player or a season might go.
No, definitely. And I think talking then of a bit of unusual errors, obviously they're Katie McCabe, but another person with a slightly unusual error this weekend, Fallon Tullis-Joyce. I mean, it's almost kind of nice to see that she's not, completely invincible and completely golden.
She's human.
Yeah, she's human. Yeah, there's a kind of a vulnerability to her, which we just haven't really seen for the whole of the season. So if this is the only error she makes, and in this game as well, 100%, I'll take that all day. That was the fastest ever WSL goal scored at the Emirates. Chloe Kelly scored after just 115 seconds. Obviously, Kelly has had an absolutely amazing window with Arsenal since joining on loan in January. She'll be a free agent come June. And I think given the post that she was putting out when she kind of left Man City, I don't suppose that she'll be going back to the club. It would be shocking. That would be an absolute what the actual fuck moment of the season if we see that Kelly has returned tail between her legs to City. What do we think is next for her, Rach? Where do you think she's off to or staying?
Well, I do think it would be a surprise if she went back to City. But as she's a free agent, Arsenal love themselves a free agent. They love to, flirt with people until they're available for not that much money for some reason, and then they'll snap them up. So I also wouldn't be surprised if she stayed at Arsenal. She seems to have really enjoyed herself there, really made an impact on the team, seems to really enjoy playing in front of those fans. She did this with the eye on the Euros, and I think she's done a really good job of kind of, not advertising herself, but kind of saying look what I can do, and giving Serena Wiegman plenty to think about. So all in all, I think that move worked out very well for her. So I wouldn't be surprised if she stayed, but I'm sure she'll have options.
No, definitely. And I think also just going back there to Fallon Tullis-Joyce as well. I mean, obviously we've seen that she's definitely someone who United have absolutely, I think, just grown with this season. Her contract now until 2028. She went into this match as a front runner for the WSL Golden Glove for the most clean sheets, but had to share it with Chelsea's Hannah Hampton. I couldn't call it really a disappointing end to the season, because it's been such an incredible season to have one error and to share the Golden Glove with someone like Hannah Hampton, Southampton, who at the moment seems pipped for almost being the number one for the Euros games at the moment. What a huge thing to have achieved in the space of a year. It felt like Mary Earp's leaving was the absolute opportunity she needed to come through.
Yeah, absolutely. She had big boots to fill at Manchester United, and I remember at the media day, their media team were quite concerned with the comparisons to Earps and the conversations that might come up around Earps when talking to Fallon, which, I mean, we didn't really want to talk about. We want to talk about Fallon about what it was like stepping up and how much she was looking forward to the season and what kind of goalkeeper she was. So I think she's massively done that. Had a very, very good season, and on top of that, commanded her defence really well. And I think the Manchester United defence, perhaps up until this game, have had a very, very solid season as well. So that kind of back five, if you like, have been excellent. So it was pretty cool to see both the Golden Boot and the Golden Glove being shared, because it just shows like there's quality kind of across the league. 4 different teams.
Definitely, and such strong competition as well. I mean, I was quite unfortunate not to be able to go to the awards, but she's definitely someone that I would have celebrated, and maybe she might even get a special mention in our episode, our special awards episode coming up on Thursday. Let's talk a little bit about Arsenal then. They scored 3 times in 16 minutes after half-time to make it 4-1. How sharp have they been in an attacking sense this season? I feel like there's been quite a bit of inconsistency in terms of them sort of finding their form, dropping off form, finding their form again, new manager, finding loads of form and dropping off a little bit again, and then finding a little bit of form towards the end. Mariona Caldenti got on the score sheet. She picked up the WSL Player of the Season this weekend. Rach, you predicted she'd be the best newcomer. I said it would be Lucy Bronze, which is a little bit of a rogue choice. I'd actually forgotten I'd said that. Newcomer, obviously, in the sense that she came back to the WSL. And also, I think another fairly valid choice given what she's done with Chelsea this season. But what are your thoughts on Arsenal's attacking line this year, Rach?
I think that was something that they were struggling with in the beginning of the season. And after Jonas Eidevall left and Renee Slegger stepped in, that seemed to be something that really started to click for them. I think they at times lacked creativity in the beginning of the season, and that was very much something that changed. They've had that run at the Emirates where they've scored something like in 7 games, like 4 or more goals or something in their home games. So they've scored a huge number of goals. What's mad is they could have scored more, like in terms of the amount of chances that they've been creating, which is a good thing for Arsenal because, again, that's where they've been struggling. They now need to have a similar kind of rejuvenation when it comes to their defence, I think, because that at times has let them down. And, when you've got a central defender who's not a natural central defender, that can sometimes make it a little bit tricky. There's not been a huge amount of rotation always either. So I also think sometimes there's been a lot of pressure on just like 1 or 2 players in those positions, like your Emily Foxes or your Katie McCabe's. So I do think that's an area that Arsenal obviously need to improve, especially ahead of Barcelona, because if they're conceding that many goals against teams that are not as good as Barcelona, it would make me worry if I was an Arsenal fan.
It feels like there has been, I think, especially when Chloe Kelly came in, I felt there was that kind of like the combination play up top again. There was that spiciness. There was something different that Chloe Kelly was offering. We saw, so much link-up play between her and Russo. And I think it became it felt like after Renee came in, they really started to enjoy their football and kind of started to enjoy creating those chances. And I do think there has been sort of drop-offs a little bit, sort of like the start of this side of 2025. But all in all, I think what Renee has done is brought fun and enjoyment and passion and creativity back to the team. So super interested to see what she's going to do with the squad next year. But like you said, defensively, that result, Rach, obviously meant that Arsenal conceded 12 in their final 3 WSL matches. So definitely something to sharpen up on. But also, it's the end of the season. Give it a little bit of a rest. But coming full circle back to our season predictions for the top 3. So I said Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea. Rach, you said Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City. How are you feeling about that? More smugness, really? You got 2 of those 3 right. I got none.
I feel probably you should give Manchester United more credit for their season. Again, I've seen people being like, oh my God, can't believe didn't put Man United in your top 3. And you're like, well, yeah, Liverpool finished above them last season. Like, that was a surprise. But I actually think they've done quite well, given, I think I said this last week, given all the noise that's been happening around the club, and every time Ratcliffe opens his mouth, I think they've done quite well to kind of block that out and perform on the pitch. So, I feel a bit bad for maybe not giving them enough credit this season. But again, some unexpected things. The Man City injury kind of woes was not something we expected. But equally, I think the wheels came off a little bit at times even before they'd gotten to the kind of that top level of number of players out. I think I saw a stat that said at one point there was something like 42% of their starting 11 or starting players or whatever it was injured, which is a huge number. But, you know, I do think it's something that will potentially be game changing in a sense for Man City, where they're going to look back and say, right, how could we, you can't prevent every injury, but how could we kind of have ourselves better prepared if we're going to be across multiple competitions, which is where we want to be. And I think missing out on Champions League will be gutting for them. So that is definitely something they're gonna want to address, I think, in the summer.
Yeah, you can definitely see that, the disappointment. There was a fair few upset faces from the Man City squad. And I know, obviously, they have had a little bit of turbulence with the injuries. Obviously, new manager coming in with Nick Cushin. But it looks super promising in terms of, you know, having Steph Houghton, part of the coaching squad now. She's obviously someone that the girls get on super, super well with, have a lot of respect for, and has been there, done it, and kind of has ridden through those turbulent times too. So I think that will be definitely something to look. I think City definitely need to think about what they're going to do in terms of the summer rebuild. We've definitely discussed that a few times before. Needed more so now, given the confirmation of Laia Alexandru leaving in the summer on a free transfer when her contract expires. I mean, that's obviously going to leave a big hole for City. I mean, how much business do they really have to do this summer to kind of get back to where they should be, winning trophies, definitely making Champions League qualification?
Yeah, like I think obviously they'll need to look defensively. I think Rebecca Knack has shown what she can do. I know she was injured for a little while, but like banging in the goals as well is really valuable for them. You know, I think when you look at their front line and when players come back from injury and you've got Hemp and Shaw, Fagino and Carolyn and Park and Miedema and Roord, and, you know, from that perspective, some very, very good quality. I think it's getting strength and depth will be key for them. And that's not to say that the younger players who've stepped in haven't done well. I've been super impressed with how, you know, they've stepped up. Gracie Pryor, for example, Emily Murphy, I think they've really impressed when they've had to come on and, you know, in difficult games and big games and show up. I think that's been really impressive. But I think City will want to have that quality and depth across the bench so that, God forbid, they do have an injury or two next season, it's not going to be as detrimental to their season.
I definitely think depth is going to play a big, big part in how well they do next season. And we had a great question in from listener Tasneem, who asked us on Instagram, do you think next season is going to be a repeat of this season, or what do you think could be the difference? And again, I think it does come down to business this summer, definitely.
Yeah, I think, you know, a big concern is probably the gap in points between 5th and 4th. You know, I don't think it was as big last season. You know, you had Liverpool and Manchester United in the 4th and 5th positions. I think that would be the slight concern for me. So I kind of think, yeah, it's going to be in and amongst those top 4 again. And I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea do it again. But I think we need to wait and see what teams do in the summer and teams further down do in the summer. I think, you know, it felt like last season that the gap had closed a little bit. And despite teams in the middle of the table taking points off the top teams this season, it doesn't actually really feel like the gap has closed or gotten closer. It feels like it's opened up a little bit, and I do think a lot of that is down to mid-table teams, the lack of consistency, and that's something that really needs to change if that gap is going to close.